When I left the Philippines, I know I was coming to a lucky country.
Well, I cry every day for here.
For the women who are coming through marriage, I think they should know more about their husbands-to-be.
He promised to give me a better life.
And I knew that I would have a brighter future here in Australia. And I believe I am one of the lucky ones.
If you asked 100 people to describe Australia, they would probably all tell you something different. For even though, unlike the Philippines, Australia is one big landmass, the climate, geography and people vary immensely wherever you go. Australia is desert, rainforest, lush farmland and concrete cities. It is big towns, it is sparse outback. It can be hot and wet, yet so cold in places that it snows. It is highly populated on the coast, yet inland you can travel 1,000 kilometres and not meet another person. Australia is a country of many different races, and although before the Second World War the dominant culture was British, since then people have come from all over the world, making it a country of diverse cultures and religions. Its people live in houses, apartments, and sometimes in one room or small caravans. But most of all, Australia is big. The Philippines would fit into a small corner of it.
It's a lot different from the Philippines. The place is huge, big.
I was expecting more like, it looks like America, that all these wonderful, beautiful houses, cars, really like the movies.
You know, I never see that place before because when I arrived, where's the building? Because we used to see the building in Manila, in Philippines, tall buildings like that.
We're driving coming here, and every town we pass, she said, there's no houses. She said, how come all this land is so vacant? There's no houses.
When I first came, well, it's a beautiful place, you know. You can't describe the beauty when you come the first time. And then when my husband brought me to the place where I live now, so quiet.
My first impression is, oh, it's very cold, you know, and I said, I don't know whether I could stay longer here. It's very cold.
It's quite nice. It's lovely, you know. So you're excited. You're excited, you know.
Getting married has always been part of the fairy tale ending. But, as anyone who's been married knows, it's only the beginning. Concerns can arise even before you leave the Philippines.
I go in the plane, hop in the seat, and then when I sit in the plane, I've been crying, said, I really think that I cannot see all my family, because for me to leave my own country, it's hard, you know, to live too far from my family and my friend, and you know, everything is too far from me, and I really feel that I cannot see them anymore.
My father was really impressed, but I was worried, like all fathers do. But I was determined to get out of the country, really, and
they do things very, very quickly, and they don't really know each other. And of course, lots of times there is a very old man and very young wife, and the age difference and the different country, different lifestyle, different attitude. There's a big bombardment on the young woman.
The most successful marriages are built on mutual love and respect. If you have other reasons for marrying, you should be truthful about what they are. Some women believe that marriage to an Australian will be a miracle cure for all their problems. Some men wrongly believe that Filipino women are submissive and willing to be dominated.
Because we are very hospitable, friendly, gregarious, they think that we are subservient women in the Philippines.
don't think and don't treat them as being subservient. They are not.
Most people in Australia have a polite, friendly nature. But as in all countries, sometimes people are treated differently because of their religion, financial status, or the colour of their skin. Occasionally, Filipino women find they are treated rudely for no reason.
I think what they have actually in mind was that you're a Filipino, you come from a bar.
They said, if you want a cheap wife, all you got to do is just go to the Philippines. It'll only cost you a few dollars to get one there, and it's just like choosing a cow.
From time to time, I think it's probably more in the kids that are going to school. They call them Ching Kong and Hong Kong, and because of the slanty eyes and that sort of thing, you know, I think it probably comes into the kids more than perhaps the girls themselves.
It's not really out in public, like they're more aware of it now more than anything else. But some Australians, I can feel that they're racist, some of them.
I'm alone by myself, and I have no relatives, and no nothing.
And I just thought, my God, what have I done? Have I made the right decision, basically?
I said, what am I doing here? I had a good life over there, but what am I doing here?
Sometimes Filipino women who marry Australians find themselves living in isolated areas where there is little to do and nowhere to go. Often the men socialise together, sometimes drinking and gambling. Your nearest neighbour or Filipino friend may live a long way away, where there is no public transport, so learning to drive is important.
I had to actually drive around everywhere, and I couldn't really get on with my work because until she got her driver's licence and got her independence, and that took a period of nearly 2 years. Once she got her independence, life was much easier, but she did totally rely on me, and I had to understand that she was also adapting from an entirely different culture.
I really miss my family, and first time I came here, I want to go back straight ahead. But said for myself, but it's hard for me because I got no friend. I'm really scared that maybe I'm lost, whatever. If I'm sick, what shall I do? And like that. It's really scary me. Everything for me is scary.
At first, of course, she was lonely because she was the only Filipina here for about 60 kilometres, I suppose, was the nearest one. So how lonely would you get?
You may find you don't have a lot in common with other Filipino women who live nearby, but you may depend on their friendship. In many cases, you have to fend for yourself in a harsh environment with no one around to help you.
I miss all the things that what I used to do in the Philippines, like talking to all my relatives, friends. They're only there, but in here, no one.
You take these women out of their own environment into a totally foreign and brand new environment, and of course they're like a fish out of water for quite a while.
Nobody talked to me, and only my husband, and you know, so that's why I always hide in the bedroom. Every time my husband get a visitor, I'm always hiding in the bedroom because I don't want to speak, because I really feel that if I open my mouth, they might laugh with the way I speak, you know.
You got no family with you, and it seems to feel like you are in a place where it's empty.
You can be just as lonely in the suburbs of a big city. Ask your fiancé or husband details about where he lives and what it's like. What is available there? Is there a migrant resource centre, Filipino community or women's group? Most husbands have found these groups of great help to their Filipino wives, but not all are happy with the idea.
So I don't stop her one little bit in mixing with her own culture, but I think you probably draw the line there somewhere, not to have too many friends of the Filipino friends, you know. I think they all get together and can cause a little bit of friction between the other husbands and that sort of thing.
he doesn't want me to mix with them because he said, I'm too good to mix with those people, with Filipino. He doesn't want me to make friends with them.
I think it's very important that my wife has her Filipino friends out here, and they have their little get-togethers and play mahjong and bingo, because that makes her adapt much better to Australian conditions and with the Australian people.
And contact makes friendship and help. If they have a problem with a mongrel husband, if they have a problem with something else, they can get help because somebody else will help them.
He didn't want me to go out. Yeah, and even if we go out and stay with old people like 60s, 70s, 80s, and he would watch me, what I'm going to say. And his eyes are always on me, even if he was far.
It's a real mistake to try to possess one's partner and sort of hold them to yourself like a sort of possession and not let them get out of hand or get any other ideas and so forth, because that's very undermining of a relationship in the first place. It's like cutting off someone's lifeline, not to allow contact with other Filipino women.
Family life is not as close in Australia as it is in the Philippines. Older people may live on their own, in special homes for the elderly, or far away. Busy grandparents are not always around to look after grandchildren. Some men may not have explained that they have children from previous marriages. Likewise, some Filipino women have not told their husbands they already have children. Stepchildren may cause problems with relationships between husbands and wives. You should both be very honest about your children and former partners.
He told me he got 3 children, but said they're good, they can manage themselves. But when I come, I have to look after all of them, you know.
Helen and I had talked about when she brought the children out. I'd said to her at the time, well, look, you know, they're your children, so they're your responsibility. But I didn't say cut off and say I'm not going to do anything for them at all. But basically, as I said to her, they were her responsibility.
Ask your future husband how much he earns and if he expects you to work. When you met him in the Philippines, he may have appeared to be wealthy. But remember, he is on holidays and probably trying to impress you.
He showed me the best that he could to win me, because he thinks that it's easy for him to take me to Australia.
I have few cases of men who said that they are very wealthy here. I know of a case that we have that he got his photo behind Kohl's supermarket and behind Target supermarket and presented this at his own supermarkets. And that the women and the relations can come to Australia and work in these supermarkets. And who would then say yes? Who would not say yes to this?
When the Australian is over there on a holiday, they're spending reasonably freely. And I think the girls get the idea that this is a very wealthy man. Christy will tell you jokingly that she thought I was Onassis. This is right, isn't it? I went over there and I had lots of jewellery and this, that. She's got a door now, by the way. I had lots of jewellery and she thought, hello, I've got Onassis.
Most of them, majority, thinks that we are all millionaires, there is plenty of money, money is abundant, there's no problem. And it's not a case. The life in here, as we all know, it's a lot better than in the Philippines, but you have to work for it.
If you have always earned your own money, don't take it for granted that you will earn a lot in Australia. Your qualifications may not be recognised, and you may have to work in a job that does not pay well in the beginning. You may wish to think about further education in Australia.
I studied Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy in the Philippines. It took me 6 years to finish it. When I came to Australia, I was hoping that I could get into that profession. But then when I inquired about it, I was told that they won't recognize it because it's a different system over in the Philippines.
Size 12, and you better damn well know that. Don't give deodorant, soap and mouthwash.
Some Australians speak a type of English that you won't find in any dictionary. It's just one of the many things newcomers have to familiarise themselves with in a new country.
Yes, when I first came, I tell Vic that you have to talk to me slowly because your English is too fast. And I can't understand sometimes the way he talked to me.
The language barrier is very hard. Sometimes you'll talk to your wife and you think she understands and she doesn't.
Because we were brought up to study American English, so it's a bit difficult because Americans are so easy to understand and Australians are not.
Get to know the system of money. Find out how many pesos an Australian dollar is worth. Ask about the cost of living, the prices of basics like bread, fruit and vegetables. You may find many helpful domestic appliances you haven't used before, like a microwave oven, or others that work differently.
Power points in the Philippines, the majority of the time, do not have a switch on them. Just plug them in and off they go. And as a result, sitting there patiently waiting for the toast to cook one day and hadn't turned the switch on. There's little things like that. There's just physical differences in the things you use, day-to-day things.
In almost all areas of Australia, you will find either migrant resource centres, community centres or neighbourhood houses. They can help you settle in and put you in touch with your nearest Filipino group. They can advise you on how to go about improving your English and having your qualifications changed to meet Australian requirements. Your children get free education through to the end of Year 12. Children must stay at school until they are 15. If you get sick, you can claim a major portion of the doctor's fee from the government agency called Medicare. There are also free public hospitals. Politics in Australia are not the same as in the United States. There is a Prime Minister, who is the country's leader, and premiers who head each state. All Australian citizens over the age of 18 must vote. Find out about your legal rights. If you come as a fiancé, make sure you marry before your visa expires and send your residency application to the Department of Immigration immediately. Then you cannot be removed from Australia. Do not give important documents such as your passport to anyone else.
If someone's considering to marry a Filipino, they should be looking at their culture as well as his own. They need to learn their culture as much and understand the differences that it's going to create.
It's much harder for mixed cultures to work out a relationship with one another, but that's not to say that it can't be immensely enriching. But it all depends on whether the relationship becomes a kind of battle for one person's definition of how families ought to be.
The most obvious way of getting through problems in any marriage is to talk it through with your partner. All marriages are faced with problems, but a marriage of people from different cultures can have more. The Filipino wife may be desperately homesick, confused about life in Australia and feeling as though she doesn't belong here.
It's like when you go out and you feel, gee, I'm the only one with a coloured skin in here. What am I doing among these people? And then everyone's talking in English and you wanted to use your language. You say, who can I talk to?
We have difficulties when we are first year, second year like that, but it's like we just passed that. I think that's normal for the married people. There is an ups and downs. But it's like they said, Carmela, how do you cope up with Herbert? He's older than you. I said, we understand each other.
Often our humor or our way of talk could easily be translated offensive, even if it's not. So then expect a period of suckiness, but all goes well afterwards. They don't carry it for too long, you know.
Don't ever expect your wife to be 100% Australian or Westernised, because it will never happen. That's why you're marrying somebody from another country. It's because of the qualities that you've noticed that you appreciate within them.
While Filipino women have traditionally held the household purse strings, it's not necessarily the case in Australia. There may be money problems. The Filipino custom of sending money home, which initially may have been agreed to, sometimes becomes a problem.
Being a close family, we help each other in the Philippines. So when I came here, they expected me to help them.
But I must admit I didn't realise that the constant request for help, and I'll put it, a constant request, was there.
You've still got a lifestyle to live here and a family to support here. So it does put a bit of a strain on the relationship.
My husband likes me to send money, and he seems to tell me to send money once a month. And there are times that I forget about it, and he is the one who's pushing me to send the money.
The tight-knit families and the relationships in the Philippines, I found it very inviting, and it's something that I've been looking for all my life, to really feel part of a family. And it was basically more like I was adapting to their way of life than what they were adapting to my way of life.
Unfortunately, a few Filipino women find that their husbands change once they are in Australia. It is often that both husband and wife have unreal expectations of what marriage will bring, and if not dealt with, this can result in severe marital problems.
After a week, I find he's changing. The way he speaks to me, the way he treats me, you know, everything was changed.
Because I'm a woman, I should work in the house, all of it. That's the woman's job, he said. He's not allowed to work even to wash a cup for his coffee. Because I'm a woman, that's my job.
The men, I think, are expecting the Filipino women to be obedient to them, to serve them in their old age, to follow everything that they say. If they don't want a child, they should not have a child. If they don't want to see the family, they can just stay here and not see the family. So it's actually obedience.
I start shaking, you know, because he's screaming, you know, you have to do what you told. He said to me.
He doesn't want me to wear any jumper during winter at home. I'm naked, half naked, I'm barefooted. He locked my wardrobe. He doesn't want me to use any shoes or a slipper inside the house because he doesn't want me to go out.
It came to the point that on Christmas Day, that was the blackest days of my life, because when I told him that I was already 20 weeks pregnant, oh my goodness, when he wakes up in the morning, I would hide already in the bedroom, my daughter's bedroom. I did not sleep with him anymore. And I took a tin where I could have my wee. I had my thermos bottle there, my food, everything in the bedroom. That was really very hard. Even just creaking of the floor, I was really scared. And then he would go up, open the door, boom, everything, and then screaming at me. And I thought, I was thinking it over and over again, that if I do not want to break a marriage. And I said, if I will not have my baby aborted, so my marriage will be shaky all the time, and I can't stand this. And I said, when I called up my mother, he said, don't do it. And then, but I did not want to do it also. And I said, I was really torn apart with that.
Violence can result from frustration and anger. But abuse such as hitting, withholding money, and not allowing you out of the house is against the law in Australia. If you find yourself in such a situation, seek help immediately. Many services exist to help you if you are having difficulties in your marriage, such as counselling and telephone advisory services. Refuges exist where women can stay until the problem is resolved.
I would like the Filipino women to know that there are men who come to the Philippines, marry a woman, divorce them, and come back again and marry another one, divorce them, and some would do this 7 times.
And then he married this Filipina before me. There's another Filipina, and then there's another one housekeeper before me. So I'm the 5th. And there's another one housekeeper that I didn't know. So I'm the 6th woman, wife, whatever you call it.
Some men threaten to have their wives deported if they do not do what they say. If you marry before you come to Australia, you cannot be removed from the country even if you leave your husband. If you come to Australia as a fiancé and you want to leave your partner before you marry or before you put in your application, you should contact your nearest immigration office to find out what your rights are. If you have any doubts about your partner before you leave the Philippines, think seriously about changing your plans.
It's very scary for me, and I thought to myself, what is this? This is not the way I want. This is not the life I dream for.
Excited about your marriage and move to Australia? You may be shy about asking too many questions which may offend your husband or fiancé. But it is important to learn as much as you can before leaving your own country.
The Filipino women might face physical isolation and cultural isolation as well. And that's very difficult. There's nothing like that in the Philippines, and I think they should be prepared for that.
Investigate first, but then when you do come out, communicate and don't stand apart.
Yes. It's a beautiful country and the people are friendly and very helpful, but it's up for you to make an effort to, to see them and reach out.
Well, I think I've got the respect that I think I deserve because I really tried to fit in.
What did my wife have? Nothing. She only had the belief in me, and I still have the belief in her. So, I mean, after 15 years, we're perfectly happy.
The majority of Filipinos who marry Australian men are very happy with their decision, and it's hoped your new life in Australia will be as wonderful as you imagined. All marriages go through some changes as the partners get to know each other and accept their differences. But it's these challenges that make marriages stronger and more fulfilling.
It's been a hard slog. We've had our ups and downs. We've had our ups and downs, and we've managed to get through most of them.
We thought coming to Australia is the end of everything, but finally come to the time that we are much happier. Things are much better. You don't have to worry about everything. Everything is just laid out for you, and it's just full of meaning. Your life is full of meaning.
And now, you see, that's my young daughter, my Filipino wife. How about that?
Good couple. Oh, thank you, dear.
Okay.
Is that what you really think?
Yeah.
Mm.